Hello my fellow oddities, welcome to a new video. I am creating a new series on the channel, one where you guys get to decide what videos I make. Basically, on my Discord server, there is a channel for video suggestions where you guys can come up with an idea for a YouTube video, put it in there, and then I will take that and make it into an actual video in this series. And you guys can suggest literally anything. Well, not literally anything, it has to still somewhat relate to Mortal Kombat because I'm not going to do a video like my top 10 favorite colors because that's just stupid. Don't suggest that. Please. So if you want one of your video ideas featured in this series, then make sure to join my Discord server. Link to that will be in the description as well as the pinned comment down below. And to clarify, it has to be on my Discord server. Don't put it in the comments because I'm not going to feature it in the series if you do that. For this first video, I'm taking a suggestion from Ace on Discord, who is also the main director of Mortal Kombat Retold, a Mortal Kombat podcast that I've been working on a little bit, so definitely make sure to check it out. Links will be in the description. But his idea was for me to go through every one of the Mortal Kombat games and pick a favorite new character from each one. So for example, if my favorite character is, say, Sub-Zero, I can't go through every single one of the Mortal Kombat games and just say my favorite character is Sub-Zero, because not only would that make for a pretty boring video, but it has to be a new character strictly from each one of the games. It's a pretty simple idea, so it should be pretty easy for you guys to wrap your head around, but without further ado, let's get started with Mortal Kombat 1. This is the game that started it all. All of the characters here have become completely iconic to the series. But who is my favorite? Who do I rock with the most? Well, if you know me, you know that my favorite character, not only in this game, but in the entire series, is Bi-Han. If you didn't know, Bi-Han is the Sub-Zero of this game, not Kuai Liang. If this was Kuai Liang, it would actually be Scorpion who's my favorite from this game, because I like Kuai Liang a little less than Scorpion, but I like Bi-Han more than Scorpion. If that makes sense. Now for Mortal Kombat 1, most people say that Scorpion is the one with the most impact. Well, in my opinion, he's really just the most popular character. The one with the most impact is definitely Bi-Han. You cannot lie. He is the one who had the spine rip fatality that created the ESRB. He's the one that killed Scorpion, he's the one with the most clear mission in the entire tournament to assassinate Shang Tsung, and he's the only one that got his own game. Did Scorpion get his own game? Didn't think so. And before you say it, Shaolin Monks does not count as a Liu Kang game. That was Liu Kang and Kung Lao. Sub-Zero is the only one that had his own game completely centered around him. So that seals the deal. Bi-Han, best character for Mortal Kombat 1. Moving on to Mortal Kombat 2. This is kind of cheating because technically it's the same character as the last one, but I don't even care. I have here Noob Saibot. Now I actually prefer Bi-Han as Noob Saibot as opposed to Sub-Zero, and it's mostly because of Mortal Kombat Deception and Mortal Kombat Armageddon, because he was just awesome in those games. Of course, Mortal Kombat Deception was the first time Noob Saibot was confirmed to be Bi-Han, and that was just like one of the coolest reveals in the entire series, because up to that point, like, Noob Saibot was just kind of a mystery character. And now, everyone remembers Noob Saibot as Bi-Han. So, if anyone you hear says, like, the 3D era didn't matter, just shut them up by saying, oh, Noob Saibot? Who is that? Bi-Han? Exactly. 3D era. Boom. Noob Saibot also has one of the coolest and most unique powers in the entire series with all the shadow portals and clones and abilities, and it's just so cool. The only real problem with Noob Saibot is how he's been treated in the latest games, but to be fair, you can apply that to a lot of characters, so I'm not going to be too harsh on him. Speaking of characters that were kind of botched in the NetherRealm timeline, Cabal. Mortal Kombat 3, my favorite character. Now I'd be lying if I said that Cabal being my favorite character from Mortal Kombat 3 had nothing to do with any of the memes that have spawned from his character more recently with Mortal Kombat 11 specifically, and as well as the Mortal Kombat 2021 movie. He's just such an entertaining character. It's just so funny. But still, Cabal is a cool character, and I love how he's kind of the anti-hero of Mortal Kombat, who's always flipping sides and switching his alliances. It's really cool, and we don't really have another character that's completely 100% like that. At times, Cabal is almost like a vigilante superhero type character, and it's just like, this is so weird, but you know what, it's Mortal Kombat, most of this stuff is weird, so fits right in. Also, his design, magnificent, those swords, magnificent, come on. Cabal is such a cool character, and I know some people are going to be like, what about the cyborgs? Do the cyborgs comment on how much they love seeing people getting their soul sucked? Didn't think so. Boom, Cabal wins, as always. Now moving on to Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, we have Ermac. Now, when I was younger, Ermac was my favorite character. I mained him in Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X. Mostly because his powers were green, and green is my favorite color. But nowadays, Ermac isn't so much in my top favorite characters just because his jobber status. But still, his role in the 3D era, specifically Deception, was still a pretty major one, so gotta give him credit there. Still a really cool character. Now moving on to Mortal Kombat Trilogy. We have Chameleon with a C. There aren't too many options here with the characters that were introduced in Mortal Kombat Trilogy. There's only two. It's Chameleon and the other Chameleon with a K. And I chose the Chameleon with a C because, I don't know, just more variety between all of the male ninjas as opposed to Chameleon, which is just like 3 of the female ninjas. So, just Chameleon is cooler because he has more to him. But still, neither of these characters really have much of a story, so like, this is kind of just a technicality. I have to pick someone. Now moving on to Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zeros. Oh yes, I am not just doing the mainline games, I'm also doing the spin-off ones. And here we have Fujin. Now of course, in Mythologies, Fujin doesn't really have much of a role. He's literally just a boss fight who explodes after you beat him. But with his appearance in Mortal Kombat 4, Armageddon, and 11, he has more to his character now. I just think whenever Fujin shows up, he is such a cool character. He's like a Raiden that has a bit more style to him, you know, like he's a bit more flashy with his moves and abilities. Personally, the reason I like Fujin more has to do with his moves, abilities, and that awesome crossbow and swords that he has, more so than his actual story because it's kind of bare bones. He really needed that appearance in Mortal Kombat 11 to really become a more interesting character. Now moving on to Mortal Kombat 4. Now all of the characters in this game that people consider new were actually introduced in earlier games like Quan Chi, Shinnok, and Fujin. So really the only completely new characters in this game are Jarek, Kai, Reiko, and Tanya. I guess Reiko? To be honest, I don't really like any of these characters. I don't think any of them even reach my top 20 favorite Mortal Kombat characters, but I don't know. Reiko has the coolest design, I guess, so here he is. And once again, just like Mortal Kombat 4, I don't really have too many options when it comes to Mortal Kombat Special Forces. So I'm just gonna pick Tremor, which is like the easy option. Now for Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, again, like the previous ones, this is kind of the generic opinion, but here I have Kenshi. He's probably the most popular of the 3D era characters besides Quan Chi, but Kenshi is a pretty cool character. I don't have him as like my top favorites, but I'd say he is pretty cool. I know a lot of people were upset that Kenshi was not in Mortal Kombat 11, but guys, he was in every single game from Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance to Mortal Kombat X. Not counting Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, because that doesn't really count. But he is a character that I'm excited to see outside of the games. I'm honestly shocked that he hasn't made an appearance in the Mortal Kombat Legends universe yet. Now moving on to Mortal Kombat Deception, we have Havoc. Yes, again, the generic opinion, but it's also the right one. Havoc is due for a return to the Mortal Kombat series. Come on, he was in this game, he was in Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and then he just stopped appearing in the Mortal Kombat franchise. Like, what the heck? Yes, he had a pretty big role in the Mortal Kombat X comics, but those aren't really canon anymore, so we don't really know what his impact to the new timeline is. All he's really had is a few name drops and appearances in character endings, so that's pretty lame. We want Havoc back. Now moving on to Mortal Kombat Armageddon, only have 2 options here, so I'll just go with Taven since he's the main character of the game, so you get to know him a bit more than you do Dagon, so pretty obvious here. Now moving on to Mortal Kombat vs. DC, where I didn't really know what to do with this game because there's technically new characters to the series, but like they're not really new characters created for Mortal Kombat. Like, it's the DC characters. You got Batman, Superman, all those guys. So unless I wanted to pick Dark Khan, I had to pick one of the DC characters. So I'm just gonna go with my favorite superhero of all time, Green Lantern. Now for Mortal Kombat 2011 or Mortal Kombat 9, there are not a lot of new characters. We have Scarlet and we have Cyber Sub-Zero. I do think Cyber Sub-Zero is pretty cool and an underrated character, but come on, I have to give it to Scarlet. Her bloodbending powers are second only to Noob Saibot for uniqueness within the Mortal Kombat franchise, so I just have to give it to her. She's become an iconic character from the NetherRealm timeline. Now, for quite possibly the hardest decision on this entire list, we have Mortal Kombat X. Now, it's not a hard decision because there's a lot of good characters. It's a hard decision because I don't really like any of these characters. Now, this did happen for, like, Mortal Kombat 4, but there weren't a lot of new characters in that game. Mortal Kombat X, however, there's a lot of new characters, and almost all of them suck. So I'm just gonna go with the character that has the most potential. I'll just say Takeda. I don't even really like him that much, though. Like, just not a huge fan of the new NetherRealm characters besides Scarlet. And that also brings me to Mortal Kombat 11, where we go out on quite a whimper. I guess I'll go with the Collector since he doesn't have any of the connections to the time travel Chronica stuff. I don't really like Garrus or Cetrion, or Collector for that matter, but like, I don't have a lot of options, do I? Yeah, it's kind of sad how this video turned out. It started off pretty strong. We were talking about Bihan and Cabal and Ermac and all these cool characters, and then it just kind of got worse and worse until I was talking about freaking Collector by the end of it, because he's the only character that doesn't completely ruin the Mortal Kombat timeline. But you know what? That's pretty much the end of the video. Remember to join my Discord server and put out your ideas so that I can make them into a video just like this one. Make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell turned on. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. And with that being said, that's it for this video, my fellow Waddies. I'll see you next time.